Hello, everyone. My name is Catherine Ferreira. I am the host and owner of Gem and Me. I want to take the time today to introduce myself. Who am I? I'm a young, proud, first-generation Latina, born and raised in Washington Heights. I have excelled in my life with adversity, hope, belief, motivation, and most importantly, the power in me. And I believe everybody has their own power inside themselves. And I want to share this platform with you to be able to explore and dig very deep inside of you to find the blessings, the gifts that you were given to become the best version of yourself. So thank you so much for joining today to the Gem and Me podcast. I hope to give you blessings, aha moments, many gifts really that you have within yourself to be able to unfold and find those within you. Thank you for listening today and welcome to Gem to Me. The power is within you. Hello everyone, Gem and Me here. I'm so excited for today's conversation with Cristy. We're going to be talking about relationships. This is a really good topic. I feel like relationships really pivot our lives, and we heal through relationships. We go through trauma through relationships. We manifest and show ourselves and our traumas through relationships. So Cristy has a lot of research that she's going to be talking about. So thank you so much, Cristy, for being here today. I'm so excited to discuss this topic with you.
Thank you so much for having me. This is definitely something that impacts everyone's life, right? And it is very, very important because once you get to a certain stage in your life where you just want peace, you know exactly what you want, who you want in your life, and build with those people that are around you, right? So this is a very exciting topic for me. I consider myself a little researcher. I just dive in whenever something happens, right?
Yes,
So
I love it.
this is definitely a good one because there's a lot of research, and it's things that it's not really spoken about, right? Because we grew up not really speaking about relationships. We are not taught about it in schools. Kind of go hand in hand with, like, money and the concept of investing. So it's just taking the idea of everything you do, including with your relationships, you have to put the time in it. You have to invest time, money, and energy. And it really gets to the point where you really evaluate, okay, who are the people that are always around me, that are always looking out for me? Who are the people that I want to build with? And I feel that we are really taught how to do this romantically. We are not taught how to do this with other relationships. For example, like, there's friends that you grew up with, and okay, what are your goals with it for that friendship? What is the purpose of that friendship? Are you guys building together? Are you guys just exploring together? And taking it from there and kind of building into it and deciding what do you want for each individual relationship in your life.
Yeah, that's so important. I definitely agree with you when you're like, at a point of your life that you have very limited time and very little patience to deal with certain people. And obviously, you all grow friendships, and you become the person that you're intended to be. You grow and develop yourself and kind of find yourself. And within that journey, you also pick and choose people who you resign with, right? Like who you bond with, have things in common, and kind of share that common ground. Um, so I'm happy, first of all, that you have been able to be part of my journey, and I hope you continue to be in the future. So I just wanted to bring that up. So thank you for being my friend and always being there for me. Um, and you're an amazing friend. I don't tell you that enough, but I wanted to tell you that. So, you know, it's sometimes now that, like, through like friendships that I've gone through, and sometimes we, like I said, we grow apart, and some people have certain expectations about you, and they're like, oh, like, you don't call me, you don't do this, you don't do that. And I had this incident with somebody like recently. I'm not gonna say no names just to not like bring people, but she told me this, and I'm like, oh, like the reason why, I wasn't there for you, because I wasn't there for myself. Like I wasn't there like mentally for myself, and like we go through a lot of stuff like in life, and certain people have certain expectations of you as a friend, as a daughter, as a mother, as a whatever, right? And if you're not there for yourself, how can you be there for others? And so I feel like I wanted to bring that out there, because that really affects the way that we project ourselves in friendships and relationships and partnerships, whatever type of relationship you're in, So I kind of wanted to pick your brain about that. What do you think about that?
Oh, I'm so excited that you brought that up. So as I have put in a lot of time into this and a lot of research, just because of certain experiences that I have gone through, and just trying to grow and heal and move forward. And one of the things that I thought was a hilarious idea is the fact that sometimes you get into a relationship with a person and they're like um a fixer upper, and it's like, a lot of us, we have such a good heart, and we think, well, they need help, let me help them, or whatever the case is. And you get yourself into these situations that you kind of could have avoided, because you were just going off of your heart and having that good true intention. But now you find yourself in a difficult situation because this person requires a lot, and you kind of like trying to fix them and help them and change them. But the thing is, you have to let them DIY it, right? So like learn these things on their own, because a lot of the times, and I know we do this a lot, especially in our culture, we try to help people that haven't asked for help. And then when they do ask for help, sometimes we don't have the time. So it's it's really like a sticky situation, because sometimes you devote all this time and invest all this time into helping someone who's not asking for the help, so it's not going to work out. But yes, sometimes when someone comes to you and they are asking for help, at that moment in time you might not have the time to do so. So it's really difficult kind of finding the balance. And then the other part is, if somebody is going through this, either let them do it themselves if they're not asking for help. But if they do ask for help, be there for them, because I feel that's another part of it, where sometimes we don't give the time or invest the time in the right people that actually want to be there and want to be around us. And sometimes we they call it chasing, right? When you start chasing these people into your life that are not putting in the same amount of time. So it's finding a balance of finding those people that actually want to be there and build with you and have a meaningful and purposeful relationship, as opposed to chasing all these people that you think they might be good for you, but they're actually not.
Yes, yes. And it's good that you mentioned like just let them be, right? And then they come back, because that's the thing. And it's, and like you said, it's a sticky thing, because some people are in a good place in their life where they could like engage, be there for you, be there for them. It's healthy, right? But like I said previously, like if you're not in a healthy mindset, and you can't be there for yourself, you're going to something mentally, healing and trauma and all these things that do contribute to your ability to be there for others, right? And the way that you project your love, your communication, etc., which is all part of a relationship if you think about it, right? And so just like you said, finding that balance, I think like that's perfect timing and alignment, right? Finding that alignment to be able to be there for each other, I think is so important. So thank you.
Right. And I also want to bring up the fact that it's okay to take the time to DIY it, right? Do yourself, learn what it is that's going on with you, etc. But also distinguishing the difference between doing it yourself and taking time off to learn what it is that you need and what it is that your purpose, what it is that you're trying to do in life and create with these relationships in life, but also figuring out when you're doing too much of that and you just trying to become a high achiever. Because there's also the concepts that when people are very high achieving individuals, they don't prioritize their relationships. So what happens is those people that are very high achieving, they end up being alone later on in their life. They have nobody to rely on. They have no friendships because they never took the time to invest in creating relationships. And some of them is friendships, romantic. Some of them don't even have offsprings. So you end up with a person that is completely alone because they were so high achieving that they were just focused on their career. And at the end of the day, it goes back to the investment thing. You have to invest in relationships in order to have people later on for you in life. Not only that, but we have been taught that having a career and these positions and these titles is what really makes you successful. And there was actually a study from Harvard that it was a 75-year-old study. They were actually surprised that they were able to keep up the study for 75 years. And they were asking men, like, what is the secret to happiness? And ultimately, all of them said were having good relationships. So it doesn't matter how successful you are, how much money, how much wealth you have. If you don't have relationships and people in your life to share that with, you're never going to truly be successful, because happiness is the key to it. And the key to happiness is having these meaningful and purposeful relationships in your life.
That's was it called like a mind explosion moment? Thank you for sharing that. That's very interesting um perspective to kind of see, our life journeys and happiness. Um I kind of wanted to pick your brain. We were talking offline about different I would say styles, right? So relationship styles and the ways that we project ourselves as being maybe avoidant or other styles that we might bring up. And that kind of piggybacks on, our upbringing, right? If we're like avoiding confrontation or things like that, we might like avoid certain relationships or confrontation because of our past experiences, maybe with parents or other relationships. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
So this is a very interesting concept, and it's something that I was kind of by surprise of, because it's something that you don't hear a lot of. Because a lot of us, we grow up just forming relationships, but we don't really have guidance. We don't really have anyone to like role model on. Schools don't really teach about this. I even study psychology, and this is something that never came up. And it was like, the psychology of people. And it's the concept of realizing whether you are your style of conflict, right? So the two major styles is the anxious, preoccupied person versus the avoidant. So of course, the anxious, preoccupied person is the one that is, when something happens, they're anxious about it. They want to figure out what's going on. They want to find a way to fix it. They're just trying to work on it to make it better and to move forward. While the avoidant is the one that completely blocks you off. They put up a wall. They don't want to talk about it. They don't have the time for it. They completely block you off, and they just put up this wall. So it's like, no matter what you try to do, it's not going to work out. So really trying to figure out what your style is and recognizing that. Because when you want to have a meaningful, purposeful relationship, and it's a relationship that you really care about, realizing which style you are and which style the other person is, so that when a conflict arises, you know how to handle it. Because if there's no communication about it, you know, you might lose a friendship or a relationship that you didn't really want to lose because you didn't realize what kind of style you were. And this is for all relationships. So it's really important to analyze what style you are, how you react when there's a conflict, and speaking about it with those that are close around you, so that when something arises, you know how to fix it and you know how to come to a mutual agreement and compromise.
That's actually interesting that you mentioned, and that kind of reminded me of the love languages. And I'm not going to go over the 5 love languages, but I do want to bring it up because I feel like it would be a great tool for people to kind of explore if you're trying to figure out what your loved ones, what their love language is and what your own love language is, so you know how to be loved and how to love others. So please, feel free to check it out, the 5 love languages, and you'll also find ways to, if you know how your friend or your spouse or your daughter, what type of love language they have, then you're able to show that more effective to them, right? And they'll be able to receive it better because that's their love language.
Right. And then it comes to the point, once you analyze that style and you figure out which one you are in, also recognizing what kind of forgiving person you are. Because this is another thing that is completely new to me. And I was like, that's very interesting. The fact that when you forgive a person, there's 2 outcomes. So you can be the type that is forgiving and you're ready to reconcile, or the fact that is you forgive the person, but you're ready to release them and move on. And I was like, oh my God, like, this is something that, again, nobody really speaks about, because it's like, okay, I forgive you. So what's next? Are we gonna work it out, reconcile, or are you deciding to move on? And again, analyzing the relationship and analyzing what kind of style you are and how much you're willing to do to either reconcile or just be done and move away from that relationship.
Yeah, and that kind of really applies, right, to every relationship, like being able to navigate and really, I would say, communicate through conflict, right? Because I feel like every relationship obviously has conflict, disappointments, expectations, which, right? And that's a whole nother kind of worms that we could talk about. But yeah, I feel like if we would have, in our upbringings, learn how to manage conflict a little better, right? In our relationship within ourselves, with our exterior environment, we would be better, relationship navigators.
Right. And I feel like it's so important because, it's a matter of realizing these things, and like you said, conflict happens in every relationship. I feel like sometimes people get a little bit confused by the word of love. They feel that if you love a person, whether it's a romantic relationship, platonic relationship, that conflict is not going to happen. And that's not the case. Conflict is going to arise in every relationship. And it's a matter of analyzing and figuring out how important and how valuable that relationship is to you, and whether these styles are gonna become a conflict if it's something that you don't speak of. Because again, people assume, oh, you love that person, so nothing is ever gonna go wrong. No, the true meaning of love is putting in the work and putting in the fight, so that no matter what problem comes at you, you're able to face it together. And I feel that a lot of people misconstrue that view because they just feel like you love this person, everything's going to be good all the time. And that's not the case. Love is a consistent battle, working it together, analyzing your future, your purpose, your meaning of the relationship, and always conquering that problem together.
Girl, you just mentioned something that hit me hard, the word love. And that's the essence, right? That's the essence of a relationship is based on love. And I've struggled through, I would say, personal relationships and that actual word because of past experiences, my upbringing, etc. And it's hard to demonstrate that sometimes, right? To friends, partners, parents, because we're not taught how to. And that's a whole nother, I would say, layer of our inability to navigate relationships, right? Because either we don't know how to communicate it to our significant other, friends, etc., or we don't know how to receive it, right?
And I feel like that's, it's so important because once you learn, I mean, that's essentially what unconditional love is. And as I've been doing research and I have heard and read more things, is is that unconditional love is that inconsistent battle, regardless of what you do, regardless of who you become, regardless of what the problem is. I'm gonna love you and I'm gonna be there for you. And that's something that becomes a problem sometimes for spiritual people or for religious people, because certain things happen and they're like, oh, it becomes a huge problem. And it's like, no, if you're going to be unconditional, if this relationship is as meaningful and as important as you say, regardless of what you do, regardless of what happens, I'm going to be there for you and I'm going to love you unconditionally.
Yeah. So what would you say, from based on your research, what would you say are like the top 3 things that you thought were like very important, or that like others that are listening now could like implement in their relationships?
Well, there's a lot of statistics, but I feel really prioritizing those that are important to you. Analyze who are the important people in your life. Analyze what it is that you want to accomplish or what it is that you want to do with a specific relationship. Because again, it's assumed that you can only build with a romantic relationship, and that's not the case. We have seen a lot of single moms who are now joining together, moving in together, and creating a healthy household for their kids because they have formed this relationship and this unionship with another female. So now you have 2 incomes coming into a house. You have kids that have more than one parent caring for them. And that's something that, again, it's not advertised a lot. It's not spoken a lot of. But yes, you can build even with platonic relationships. So figure out who are the people that are important in your life, what it is that you want to accomplish or build with them. And then also prioritizing those people, because sometimes, and this is something that you and I have spoken about, like when COVID happened, a lot of people died. And sometimes we get so caught up in the everyday life that we get so distracted that something as simple as a text, a call, we completely forget. And then, life happens. People die, people get sick, things happened, and then we have regrets. And that's the biggest thing. Try to avoid every regret you can. So try to dedicate, even if it's once a week, set goals for yourself, set goals for your relationship. Even if it's twice a month, this is our goal. We're going to call each other twice a month. We're going to try to meet up once a month. If you live far, let's try to meet up every quarter. Every 3 months, every 4 months, we'll meet up. And just set relationship goals. It doesn't matter what kind of relationship it is, but set relationship goals. And then lastly, remembering and prioritizing these relationships, because the reality is that no matter how much success you have, how much wealth you have, nothing is going to impact your life and your happiness like the people that are around you and having these successful relationships. and again, creating these goals for yourselves and your relationships.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you so much, Cristy. I feel like that really touched me. And I know that, our listeners are going to be so happy that, about this conversation because it's so important. And like you said, we don't really talk about these things, right? And life goes on, things get busy, we just go on with life and kind of have passive encounters with those who we love and don't really be intentional and specific about those goals and those milestones and those traditions and those moments that we could cherish, right? So thank you so much for being here and sharing all your research and wisdom and love with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It has been an honor seeing you grown and still building this like relationship mentorship relationship that we have. And it just has been a great journey, honestly.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
Have a good night, everyone.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I am so grateful that you're here listening to my podcast, Gem and Me. I hope that you continue to share, continue to listen on very important topics that I discuss in my growth and journey to what is called life. I hope that you're able to learn and explore different values and things that you have within you. I really hope to serve as a support system and a community to those who need the inspiration in that community, because I know that I needed this, I still do, but like growing up, I felt like I needed something where I can, see the examples and have a support system. So I hope to serve as such. Thank you for listening and have a great one.